Good day, pupils. Another video, another discussion to unlock. Meet first year teachers for today, starring Teacher Mariah, Teacher Jenny, Teacher Charmaine, Teacher Kim, and yours truly, Teacher Mary. But you can also call me Teacher Faith. So now, before our discussion proper, let's have an activity first entitled The Differentiated Crossword Challenge. So I have here hints. All you need to do is to identify what is being asked, and then let's have it. Let's put it in the crossword boxes. So now for the first one, a psychologist who proposed the theory of multiple intelligence. Yes, Gardner. For the second one, a type of assessment used during instruction to monitor student progress and adjust teaching strategies. Yes, formative, a teaching method where complex tasks are broken into smaller, manageable steps with guided support to help students master skills incrementally. Yes, that is scaffolding. For the fourth one, an educator and pioneer of differentiated instruction. Yes, that would be Tomlinson. For the fifth one, a multiple intelligence focused on self-awareness, reflection, and understanding one's own emotions, motivations, and goals. Yes, intrapersonal. Next one, a grouping strategy where students are temporarily organized by skill level, interest, or learning style to optimize instruction. That would be flexible. That is correct. So all of these terms are connected to what we will going to discuss this morning. So now, class, have you ever thought about our discussion or our lesson for today? What would it be? Yes, that would be differentiated learning, multiple intelligence grouping. So, we have now here the general concept of differentiated instruction. Differentiation is teaching approach that customizes instruction to meet students' individual needs. It is not a fixed program or set of worksheets. Teachers observe and understand the differences and similarities among students and use this insight to design lessons that meet varying learning needs rather than applying a one-size-fits-all strategy. For the second one, the second bullet, we have goal-oriented but flexible. It talks about flexibility. So all students work toward the same learning goal, but the pathways and methods vary. So differentiation recognizes that while the end target is the same, students learn differently and need varying supports, pacing, and experiences to succeed. So now we have the 4 areas of differentiation according to Carroll and Tomlinson. So for the first one, we have the content, varying what students learn and the materials they use based on readiness, and background knowledge. So the students may be at different levels of understanding before a lesson starts. Some may need basic content, others more advanced work. Then the lessons can be adjusted according to Bloom's taxonomy. Yeah, so those are remembering until creating. So for the example activities, we have match vocabulary words to definition. So what is this level of Bloom's taxonomy? Remembering, that is correct. Read and answer comprehension questions. What is this level? Yes, understanding. Change the ending of a story. Creating, like changing, so creating. Identify a character's argument and support it with evidence. Yes, analyzing or evaluating. Next one, create a PowerPoint presentation to summarize learning. Yes, that would be creating as well. So now, for the second area, we have here the process, varying the way students make sense of new information. So different students process information in different ways: visually, auditorily, kinesthetically. Teachers should adjust instruction methods and allow choices on how students engage with the material. We have here example activities. First one, provide textbooks for visual and word-based learners. Second, allow audiobooks for auditory learners. Next one, offer interactive assignments or hands-on activities for kinesthetic learners. So those are the two areas of differentiation according to Carroll and Tomlinson. So for the third and fourth one, we have teacher Jenny to further discuss.
Project product, a way for students to show what they know. The product is what the students create at the end of the lesson to demonstrate the mastery of the content. This can be the form of tests, projects, reports, or other activities. You could assign students to complete activities that show mastery of an educational concept in a way the students prefer based on learning style. So, example of activities. First, read and write. Learners write a book report. So, this helps them understand the story through reading and writing. Next is visual. Learners create a graphic organizer of the story. They learn best by seeing pictures and organizing ideas visually. Third is auditory. Learners given an oral report. They remember better by speaking and listening. And lastly is kinesthetic. Learners build a diorama illustrating the story. So they learn through hands-on activities and movement. Learning environment, how the classroom feels and how the class works together. The conditions for optimal learning include both physical and physiological elements. A flexible classroom layout is key, incorporating various types of furniture and arrangement to support both individual and group work. Physiologically speaking, teachers should use classroom management techniques that support a safe and supportive learning environment. So, example of activities, break some students into reading groups to discuss the assignment. This helps them share ideas and understand the reading better. Second is allow students to read individually is preferred. Some students focus more when they read alone. And lastly is create a quiet spaces where there are no distraction. A calm environment helps students concentrate and read better.
Thank you for that, Teacher Janie. So now let's continue. To help all students learn in the best way for them, teachers often use Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence or MI. Gardner believed that people are smart in different ways, not just one. So in 1983, he described 7 types of intelligence. So which are linguistic intelligence, logical mathematical intelligence, spatial intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, musical intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, and interpersonal intelligence. When we say linguistic intelligence, the students is being good with words, reading, writing, and speaking. In logical mathematical intelligence, the students is being good with numbers, logic, and problem solving. In spatial intelligence, the students is being good at visualizing things like maps, pictures, and designs. In bodily kinesthetic intelligence, the students use their body skillfully like athletes, dancers, or surgeons. In musical intelligence, the students understand and create music, rhythms, and sounds. So intrapersonal intelligence, it is understanding yourself and your own feelings. In interpersonal intelligence, it is understanding and working well with other people. Later on, Gardner added an eighth intelligence called naturalistic intelligence, which is being good at understanding nature like plants, animals, and the environment. He is also studying a possible ninth intelligence called existential intelligence, which is about thinking deeply about the big life questions like the meaning of life and death. So by using this theory, teachers can create lessons that match students' different strengths. This helps everyone to learn better because they can use their own ways of being smart. Differentiation is a teaching approach where educators respond to the individual learning needs of students, rather than assuming all students learn in the same way or at the same pace. It requires purposeful planning around four main elements, which are the content, process, product, and learning environment. Now, we will delve into the first element, which is the content. So for content, differentiation begins with establishing clear learning outcomes based on academic standards. However, teachers go beyond just teaching standards. They continuously assess student needs and progress through formative assessments, adjusting content as necessary. Student interests are also taken into account to make learning more meaningful and engaging. To meet diverse learning styles, teachers use varied sources and texts rather than relying on a single textbook. They intentionally build on students' strengths to boost confidence and performance, while also explicitly teaching strategies in areas where students show deficiencies, helping close learning gaps in a supportive way. So the next is the process. So in terms of the process, which is how students engage with and acquire new information, teachers use several strategies to support diverse learners. So curriculum compacting is used to streamline learning for students who have already mastered certain material, allowing them to move ahead or explore topics more deeply. Scaffolding is provided for students who need additional support, breaking down tasks into manageable steps. Skills are taught with a gradual increase in difficulty, ensuring students develop proficiency over time. Then, flexible grouping and pacing are key, allowing students to work in varied groups based on their needs and enabling them to progress through material at a suitable pace. Teachers offer multiple learning tools such as graphic organizers, manipulatives, technology, and visuals to address different ways students process information. Effective questioning techniques are used to promote deeper thinking and engagement, and a wide variety of instructional strategies, including direct instructions, collaborative projects, inquiry-based learning, and hands-on activities, are employed to suit different learning styles. So next is the product. So when it comes to the product, or how students demonstrate their learning, differentiation ensures that both academic and affective or emotional and social needs to be addressed. So, teachers consider learner styles, offering various options for students to show what they know. Assessments and activities are authentic, meaning they connect to real-world experiences and skills. Students are provided with various opportunities and choices. They might write essays, give speeches, conduct experiments, create visual projects, research topics, record videos, or share their learning through presentations or performances. So this flexibility allows students to demonstrate mastery in ways that play to their strengths while still meeting learning goals. So for the last one, the learning environment. So the learning environment is designed to support differentiated instruction. Room arrangements are purposeful, allowing for both independent and collaborative workspaces. Students are given more responsibility for their learning through self-monitoring and goal setting. Teachers expand the walls of the classroom by incorporating technology, connecting students to experts and resources beyond the school, and encouraging learning experiences in the community. Student interaction is promoted through group projects, discussions, and peer feedback activities, fostering collaboration and social learning. Most importantly, students are encouraged to take ownership of their learning journey, making choices, setting goals, and reflecting on their progress, which builds independence and intrinsic motivation. Now that I am done with my part, let me call on Teacher Kim Joy. So Teacher Kim Joy, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that, Teacher Charmaine. So now let's talk about the people behind differentiated instructions. So the ones who help shape and support this way of teaching. We will talk about two main names. We have Carol Tomlinson and Howard Gardner. Now let us start with Carol Tomlinson. The term differentiated instruction was introduced in the late 1990s by Carol Tomlinson, who describes the differentiations. At its most basic level, differentiating instruction means shaking up what goes on the classroom so that the students have multiple options for taking in information, making sense of ideas, and expressing what they learn. In other words, a differentiated classroom provides different avenues to acquiring content, to processing or making sense of ideas, and to developing products so that each student can learn effectively. And she said that classrooms should not teach all students in the same way. Instead, teachers should give students different ways to learn and different ways to show what they learn. So some students may prefer drawings, others prefer writings, so while others need to talk in a groups. So her goal is to help every student learn better, not just the fast ones, but also to those who need more time. Next, we have Howard Gardner. He is a psychologist and professor at Harvard University's Graduate School of Education. Based on his study of many people from many different walks of life and everyday circumstances and professions, Gardner developed the theory of multiple intelligences. He performed interviews with and brain research on hundreds of people, including street victims, prodigies, autistic individuals, and so-called idiot savants. And he found out that there's more than one way to be smart. As what Hub teacher Charmaine said earlier, Gardner defined the first 7 intelligences and frames of mind in 1983, and he added the last 2 intelligence reframed in 1999. Because of Gardner, teachers started understanding that students need different activities to match their own intelligence. So this is a big part of differentiated instruction. So now let's look at what differentiated classroom might look like. So one way to help differentiate the classroom is to have students work in groups to move through several stations around the room. With 3 to 5 stations, students can work together on skills that everyone needs to know on their own. And lastly, the teacher can work with individual groups at one of those stations. So students get individualized lessons designed for what they learned, what they need to learn in the unit. In class, the teacher can also stay at one station and give personalized support to a small group of students who need more help or at different explanations. So this setup helps students learn at their own pace and in a way that makes sense to them, and we can make sure each student gets the support they need. And I guess that would be all for my part. Let me pass the virtual floor to Teacher Mariah. Hi, Teacher Mariah!
Thank you so much for that, Teacher Kim. So now let's proceed to the history of differentiated learning. So the roots of differentiated instruction go all the way back to the days of the one-room schoolhouse, where one teacher had students of all ages in one classroom. So as the educational system transitioned to grading school, so it was assumed that children of the same age learn similarly. So in those times, so the instruction or the teaching strategies that was given to the students by the teacher were all the same regardless of their level of understanding and intelligence. However, in 1912, achievement tests were introduced and the scores revealed the gaps in students' abilities within grade levels. So in those times, the teacher can already determine the different strengths and weaknesses of every student in the classroom, and also if they really understand that particular lesson or if the students need more assistance. In 1975, Congress passed the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act or IDEA, ensuring that children with disabilities had equal access to public education. So to reach this student population, many educators used differentiated instruction strategies. So in those times, so many instructional or differentiated instruction were being made by the teachers to ensure that all students, including the children with disabilities, can understand or participate with the lesson. In 2000, so the No Child Left Behind were being implemented. So it encouraged more educators to make or apply differentiated instruction for all the students to understand, not only understand itself the lesson, but also to participate to more activities after the lesson. So research by educator Leslie Owen Wilson supports differentiating instruction within the classroom, finding that lecture is the least effective instructional strategy. So with only 5 to 10% retention after 24 hours. So engaging in the classroom, practicing after exposure to content, and teaching others are much more effective ways to ensure learning retention. So we can apply activities every after discussion to make sure that our students are listening to our discussion. Let's review what we learned about differentiated learning. So first, what are those 4 areas of differentiation? Very good. It's content, process, product, and learning environment. Alright, how about the 7 categories of intelligences by Gardner? Correct. It's linguistic, spatial, musical, logical, mathematical, bodily kinesthetic, intrapersonal, and interpersonal. Okay, how about the last one? Who are the proponents of differentiated learning? Correct. It's Carol Ann Tomlinson and Howard Gardner. Very good, class. So here's our references in our presentation. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you learned something from our presentation.